Well, hello there. How y'all doing today? This is Caleb Jones, and this is Alpha Male 2.0, freedom-focused lifestyle design for men, location-independent income through your own location-independent business that you own and control, dating multiple attractive women without any lying or cheating or drama or bullshit. The freest lifestyle a man can possibly live in the modern collapsing era in which we find ourselves today. Today, I'm going to be speaking directly to you, millennials and Gen Zers. Gen Zers. And it's funny to me that I'm in Generation X, which is a generation that no one ever talks about. It's weird that it feels like everyone thinks in America there's boomers, millennials, and Gen Z. Well, we Gen Xers, like, we raise our hand like, yeah. Now, we are the smallest of those generations. I'll describe why we're the smallest in a minute. But cool. Let me check the technology here, right here. I'm going to get right into the topic. Let me make sure we're going good. And we are. Cool. Okay. Now, a few things. This is specifically for you, millennials. So millennial, let's get our ages straight here. This means really, if you're under the age of about 35, 36 or so, then you are either a millennial or a Gen Z. And you could argue you're not in that category if you're outside the Western world. You get my fucking point. All right. And Gen Z are those of you who are like, what, late teenagers to about 26, 27, something like that. So two things before I really get into this as a preamble. First of all, I know how human beings work, and I know the internet works, and I know how people react. And I'm going to talk to you guys today, you young folks, about how you can course correct and how you can live a better life. But first, I got to kick your ass a lot, like a lot. And when I start kicking your ass using facts and data, a lot of times, and you won't all do this, but I know there will be a desire for some of you to do this, you will want to change the subject to other generations. So you don't excuse bad behavior by pointing out other bad behavior. So I'll give you a few quick examples. When I used to live in the United States, I used to post a lot on forums, and I would criticize the US more than I criticize any other country in my life, living in the US, but I would criticize Europe. And I would say factually accurate negative things about Scandinavia, UK, Netherlands, France, Germany, Finland, right? And invariably what would happen, these Europeans get pissed off at me, and they would say, well, the United States sucks because you guys do this and this, have this problem. And I would say, yes, we suck too. Matter of fact, the United States sucks so bad, I'm going to leave it forever. Now, let's get back to what we were talking about, the topic of your country, Europe. Just because America sucks doesn't suddenly mean Europe is great. America sucks and Europe sucks. Okay. I also have talked about several times, Trump supporters. I pointed out many times that back in the day, even to this day, if you point out negatives of Trump, do Trump supporters say, no, you're wrong, Caleb. Trump was a great president for these 3 or 4 or 5 reasons. They give you facts. Is that what happens when you say negative things about Trump? No. What they do is they immediately jump to Biden or Hillary. Today, Biden. A few years ago, was Hillary. What, you want Hillary? Well, you want Biden? This is the only thing they jump to. So when you do that, you are basically saying, yeah, you're right, Trump does suck. And I can't defend him, so I got to change the subject to other people. So what you're going to want to do, some of you, is when I point out the negatives of what you people are doing, you people, Bill Maher, you people. Okay, you people, okay. Anyway, sorry. I turned to Bill Maher for a second. What you guys in these two generations are doing, millennials and Gen Z, there's going to be a strong desire among many of you to say, well, baby boomers suck because yes, baby boomers, I've said many times, is probably the single worst generation in the modern era so far. Now, here's the thing. The jury is still out on this. We don't know what you millennials and Gen Z are going to do when you're in charge of everything. God damn, I just realized this. At some point in the United States, Gen Z is going to be in charge of everything. Oh. I'm sure, but no, vote for Trump. I'm sure that'll fix everything. Keep watching Tucker Carlson videos. I'm sure that'll solve all your problems. So Yes. Pointing out the negatives of the baby boomer generation, which I will do, and I'm going to point out negatives of my generation too, Gen X. Yes, all accurate. That doesn't change the points, the valid, factually accurate points I'm about to make about what you guys are doing. And you are living right now in the middle of a collapsing civilization. If all you've got is, this is all baby boomers' fault. Okay, boomer. If that's all you've got, you're fucked. All right. So be aware you're gonna have a strong need to point out the negatives of other generations when I point out the valid negatives of your generation. By the way, I never did this. Whenever people criticize my generation, Gen X, I usually agree. We'll talk about that in a second. Let's see here. Make sure we're still good here. All right. Second thing. I'm about to kick your ass a little bit. Now, you have to remember, and this is sometimes difficult to remember when you're getting, especially when you're getting emotional and reactive and outcome dependent, is that my goal here, my role here, the only reason I'm sitting here talking to you, and that's a literal statement, by the way, the only reason I am bothering to take time out of my day when I could be doing a lot of other very important things, believe you me, the only reason I'm taking the time and effort to do this is to help you. I have a mission, just like I talk about here at Alpha Male 2.0, and my mission is to help you as a man live a happier, more free life. Even when I'm yelling at you and criticizing you, which I do often with various groups of people, including groups of people of which I am a part, that doesn't mean I'm here to just be an asshole and berate you. It doesn't mean I'm some old man wagging his finger at you from his recliner saying, back in my day. No, I'm here to help you. If I didn't give a shit about helping you, trust me, I would not be doing this podcast. Trust me. I'd go back to working on what I was just working on, where there's a lot more money involved than me doing a podcast here. Okay? So be aware, I'm here to help. Sometimes in order to help you, and many of you aren't aware of this because you didn't have a dad when you grew up, which is not your fault. Many times you have to kick someone's ass in order to help them. It's called tough love. I don't like that term, but that's an accurate term. So all of this criticism, it will start with criticism, then it'll circle around to what you should do. All of this is coming from a place of, I want to help you guys. You guys are old enough to be my sons. My son is a millennial, and my daughter is a Gen Z. And that's kind of funny. That's just how that worked. So you guys are old enough to be my kids. All of you guys under 35. I just turned 52 last weekend. I'm an old man. Still kicking, but I'm an old man. So just be aware. Remember, no matter how mad and defensive you get, A, don't react by pointing out other negatives of other generations of which you're probably right. And B, get upset with me that I'm being some kind of asshole. I am an asshole, but I'm an asshole who's trying to help you. Help you're going to need. Things are going to get a lot worse in the next 10, 20 years. A lot. And if all you have is reactivity, getting pissed off at everything, you're fucked. By the way, that is the beta male response. The beta male response is get really reactive and pissed off and outcome dependent and say, this bullshit, and then do nothing. Okay? All right. Let's see. Okay. As I mentioned earlier, my son is 32 or 33. I always forget the age of my kids. My daughter just turned 26, or is about to turn, actually, she's about to turn 26. So my son is a millennial. My daughter is an old Gen Z. So if she's 26, she's born, 98? So that makes her a very old Gen Z. So some of you already know this. My son is black. I've done a few YouTube videos with him. It's a long story. If you don't know the story, I'll update you really quick because people go, what? How do you have a black son? How the hell did that happen? As if white people can't have black children. But all right, fine. As usual, I don't care about race. I don't give a shit about race. I've dated every race you could think of just about. Anyway, the quick summary of that story is 35 years ago, however long it was, when I was a young, stupid beta male in my 20s, I dated a woman. I married her much too quickly. She was a white blonde woman. And before me, she had a dalliance with a black guy, had a kid from him. So that was my son. He was about 4 or 5 years old when I married his mother much too quickly. We were married for about 10 years, got divorced. He's still my son. So I adopted him when we were younger. And then my daughter came about a year later after I married his mom. So same mom, That's how it works. So he was a black kid, but he was raised in a very white environment with a white blonde woman and a whitey white guy like me in a white neighborhood. And we have all kinds of jokes about that and things like that. I'll talk about that in my podcasts. Hang on a second, double checking the technology here. All right. When he was young, and I don't remember how old he was when I told him this. I think he was around 12 years old, 13, somewhere in there, just entering high school, I think. Not quite a freshman in high school, I think. I could be wrong. I'm not sure exactly how old he was when I gave him this little talk. But I gave him a little talk, and you're going to think this is about race and racism. This is an example and a parallel to what you guys, the Millennial and Gen Z, are facing, irrelevant of your race. So don't get hung up on the racial example, even though I'm about to give you a racial example. What I told Tim, my son Josh, when he was about 12, 13, is I said, look, here's the deal. You're a black guy in a white, predominantly white country, United States. This means that you're going to have to work a percentage harder than the typical white guy in an identical scenario to get the identical same result. You're going to have to work, and I don't know what the percentage is. I don't think anyone knows, but I know it's not 0. I know it's not 100%. You're going to have to work maybe 10% harder, 15% harder, 20% harder than the equivalent white guy to make the same amount of money, have the same amount of success financially in the United States as a black guy. Now, if you're hardcore right-wing conservatives say, no, there's no difference whatsoever between white and black, no difference whatsoever, okay? And then left-wingers would say, oh, it's impossible to get ahead if you're black. Or you have to work double as hard or triple as hard, 100% harder. No, I know lots of self-made, wealthy black men in the United States. They don't work double the hours of wealthy white men. So I know it's not 100%, but I also know it's not 0%. Let's say it's 15%. I don't know if that's the number. Who knows? And I said, look, I don't know. I told him all this. I don't know what that percentage is. I have no idea, but I know you're going to have to work at least a little harder. I said, let's say it's 15% harder. Okay. You have to work 15% harder. And that's the way it is, unless you move to Africa where you are not, you won't be a racial minority. Now he kind of did that. He moved to Africa. He moved to Mexico. Good for him. But anyway, I said, all right, because of this, you have to work 15% harder. All right. Which is not your fault. That is not your fault that you have to work 15% harder. Okay. So Josh, I told him, you have two options in life. And as you get older and become a man, you're going to have to pick between one of these two options. And every black man who lives in a predominantly white culture has to make these two choices. You make one of these two choices. Option one is you look at the world and you hold your hand out like this, palm up, and you say, this is bullshit. It's not fair that I have to work 50% harder. That's not my fucking fault. Fuck this. Where's my free money? Okay, that's option one. Option two is you look out at the world and you say, this sucks that I have to work 15% harder. This is bullshit. This is not my fault, but I want what's mine, so I better get to work. Now, I said to Josh, there are pros and cons to both of those options. So the option one of saying, where's my money? This isn't my fault. This is bullshit. White man's holding me down, blah, 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 blah. The advantage to that option, the good news about choosing that option, it's really easy. It's easy. You don't have to do anything. Just sit on the couch and scream. It's great. You don't have to work very hard. It's easy. So that's the good news. That's the advantage. That's the advantage of option one. The downside of option one is that you will never be happy long term. Long-term happiness for you as a man in the United States will not be possible for you. And I know black men who have chosen option one, and I know black men who have chosen option two. 0% of the black men I know who've chosen option one are happy. Long term. They're very reactive. They're touchy. They're angry. They're pissed off. Okay. Right. And I'm not saying option one or two is bad or right or wrong. I'm not discussing that. I'm discussing you, Josh, have a choice. You can choose option one or you can choose option two. Now, option two. What's the downside of option two? Downside of option two, you got to work your ass off. You got to work hard. So a white guy has to work hard to make it in the United States, collapsing Western world, Canada, Western Europe, Australia, right? There are a lot of you white guys working very hard. Some of you aren't. Most of you aren't. Well, some of you are, and you got to work 15% harder than that. So it's hard fucking work. And it's kind of sucks you're going to do this. So that's the downside. The upside of option two is you have a shot at happiness. You have a shot. Option one, you have no shot. None at all. Option 2, you got a decent shot. You have maybe 80% shot of achieving long-term happiness. And I said, Josh, choice up to you. I mean, I'm an alpha male 2.0 father. I don't tell my children how to live. I just give them their options and I weigh the pros and cons. I said, you pick, you choose. And thank God for me, in my opinion, he chose option 2. He's a 6-figure earner, alpha male 2.0, location independent, 5 flags, everything. He's in Mexico right now. He's headed over to Portugal soon. He's going to Turkey, also a few other places. Good for him. And so now he's pretty happy. He has a shot. He actually made it. He's only 32, 33, so he's got a ways to go before he makes a judgment on it. But he chose that option. Now, you're talking about racial stuff and black stuff and things like that. That's not the point. The point is, you Gen Z and millennial guys are in a very similar position right now. I have seen the articles and I've seen the memes and I've seen the charts and graphs, and they're valid, about how much rent was in like the 80s and the 70s as compared to the average income. And today what the rent is in the United States as compared to the average income. And it's just like a hockey stick difference. Yes, you guys in the millennial and Gen Z generations got fucked. Primarily by the baby boomers, probably the worst generation in modern history so far. Well, again, we'll see what you guys do when you're in charge. So you're right about that. You're absolutely correct. You have no argument from me that you got a raw deal. Okay? Now, you have the same choice that my son had. You can sit there and scream and rant on Twitter about how baby boomers ruined your life and now you're totally fucked. Or you can get off your ass, stop whining like a bitch, and get to work, knowing you have to work a little harder than the boomers did back in the 60s and 70s when they were growing up. Choice is yours. And just like the choice I gave my son, which is not the choice I gave him, it's the choice the world gave him. If you choose option 1, you will never be happy. Ever. You'll never be happy. You'll be angry for the rest of your life. You'll be poor the rest of your life. You'll be struggling the rest of your life. And it's going to get worse because now we have the collapse of the Western world on top of all this. And you're just going to get decapitated by what's coming because you won't get off your ass. Option 2, if you get off your ass and get to work, knowing you have to work a little harder than previous generations for certain things. Now, I'm going to get to this in a minute. In some ways, you don't have to work nearly as hard. In some ways, you have a lot better. I'm going to cover that in a second. It's not all negative. But there are some aspects of negative. You're right. It's not your fault. If you get to work, you've got a shot. Especially if you're following Alpha Male 2.0. You have a huge shot. You can be one of the happiest men on earth. I am. Location dependent income, dating multiple attractive chicks. Even if you're married, it's a good life. Boy, is this a good life. I can tell you what I did last week. I won't, but it's a good life. Okay? And I've given you all the models to replicate aspects or the entire lifestyle. All right? Now, let's see here. Yeah, I got to go to my notes because I don't want to skip things. Now, I come from Gen X, and Gen X was the generation that was born in the 70s, raised in the 80s and early 90s. I'm right in the middle of that generation. I was born in 1972, graduated high school in 1990. I use graduated in quotes because I never graduated high school. I was one credit short, and I didn't care. My mom was very upset, but it worked out. It's fine. When Gen X entered into adulthood, a few things. Number one is our parents were, guess what? Baby boomers. What do you think our parents did with all the wealth they inherited from the World War II generation? It was gone. So we had a microcosm, the same or similar problem that you guys have, is that the generations before us had it way easy. I mean, my God, the boomers had it so easy. Minus a few things I'm going to talk about. We were in the same scenario. In the early 1990s, it was the middle of a really sharp recession. It's a recession no one talks about anymore because there's been so many other more horrible recessions since then. Collapse of the Western world. But that was the beginning of the outsourcing thing where companies started outsourcing everything to India. That was the middle of the 90s. Matter of fact, my first real job, full-time job, was doing technical support on the phone for software products. DOS, this is back in the MS-DOS days, DOS utilities. We were white people in the United States giving technical support over the phone. You have that anymore? No. And as I left that job in 92, I forget, right after I left, they outsourced the entire department out to India, with the exception of a few people. That's when this all started. When companies realized, whoa, we could save hundreds of millions of dollars. We have Indians do this instead of Americans. This is great. And then, of course, everyone blamed the corporations. You wouldn't have to blame the corporations. You didn't have the regulations and taxes that India didn't have. It would have been fine. That's what happens when you embrace big government, is that you force your companies to go outside your borders. And that's, anyway, don't get me on a political rant. So all those aspects are true. Now, here's the difference between Gen X and you guys. My generation, which sucks. Let me back up really quick. My generation sucks too. Generation X was the generation that introduced single motherhood to the world. That was my generation, unfortunately. Now, I wasn't a single father, but that was my generation, were the people who had women who started cranking out babies starting in the 90s without being married. That was my generation that did that. So we did a lot of shit wrong too. I'm not saying Gen X is perfect. We're not. We did a lot of shit wrong. We're still doing a lot of shit wrong, and we're doing some shit right. Again, we're the smallest generation, so no one cares about us, which is fine. Let's see here. Here's the difference. My generation, when we got fucked, when we were in the middle of a recession, when we had to deal with inflation, when we had to deal with those bullshit, we did not blame the boomers. We did not sit around for years and years and years and years and years like, oh, boomers fucked us. This is bullshit. We didn't do that. Here's what we did. I'll tell you what we did. Late 80s, early 90s. What we did is we left high school. We smoked weed for about 2 or 3 years. Now, I didn't personally do this, but people my generation did. Everyone called us slackers. We were the slacker generation. We smoked weed for 2 or 3 years and wore a lot of black leather jackets and black jeans and, goth girls. We did that shit for a few years. And then we got to work and built lives for ourselves. This is as opposed to both millennial and Gen Z. Gen Z is even worse, but millennials bad at this. This is opposed to millennial and Gen Z who leave school and then sits around for years and years and decades, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, 15 years. There are guys in the millennial generation who are in their early 30s, still living at home with mommy and daddy, kind of farting around, have not yet built a financial base for themselves. In their early 30s. This is now the norm in the Western world. We didn't do this. Now, we did do it for a little bit. We did it for a few years. And by the time in Gen X, back in the Gen X days of late 80s or 90s, by the time you were 22, you got off your ass and you got a job or started a company. You see that now, millennials and Gen Z? No. They're too busy sitting around Twitter complaining about boomers, or complaining about conservatives and right-wingers, or complaining about, we need more welfare, we need more this, and we need more of that. Not just 22, but 25, 27, 30, 31, 35. I mean, we eventually got to work. As I mentioned, the Gen Z is the smallest generation, and the millennials are a much larger generation. Now, how does that work? The millennials are kind of our children. So you millennials are the combination of the children you're the children of some boomers and some Gen X, mostly Gen X. How is it that Gen X, the smallest generation alive, spawned the millennials, which is the largest generation? Now, earlier it was the boomers that were the largest. Millennials is a huge generation. This is another aspect I'm going to touch on. Well, how did that happen? Mathematically, how'd that work out? You know why? You know why that happened? Because we in Gen X, both back then and today, do something that many of you Gen Z and a lot of you millennials aren't doing. It's called fucking. Gen X had a lot of sex. A lot of sex. I think the statistic back in the 80s, I believe this is true, it could be wrong, was that 50% of high school seniors, by the time a high school senior graduated, had lost their virginity. So 50% of students in high school were fucking each other. And then when they left high school, they kept fucking. By the way, this was before the internet, before, quote, hookup culture, before Tinder, before sugar daddy, before any of this stuff that you guys think has been around forever. No, we were fucking. We're still fucking. Here's something I'll tell you. This is anecdotal. I don't have any hard data on this. You could probably look this up. It's kind of hilarious too. This is anecdotal, but as usual, I have a lot more anecdotal data than most other normal people because of what I do for a living. When I talk to Gen X people my age today, so that would be people who you're in Gen X if you are in your, from age 44, let's say 47 to about 56. So mid to late 40s to early to mid 50s, maybe a little later 50s, like 57. If you're in that generation, I've talked to a lot of people in my generation. I know I have friends and coworkers and people I went to school with and things like that. You know what's hilarious? All these people are fucking. They're all fucking. You would think people, quote, old people in their 50s would stop fucking. No, they're all fucking. Single people, married people. Now, married people monogamy doesn't work. So married people are usually cheating on some. So let me go through the thing, okay? So single people who are my age, single guys, they're all fucking younger women. They're on secret arrangement and dating younger chicks and banging younger chicks or marrying younger chicks, okay? Women my age who are single, this is hilarious. It's true. And if you think through the people you know, think through people you know. If you live in, the Western world, people you know between the age of about 47 and 57, and see if this matches your experience. I bet it will. The single women I know who are my age, they always have a boy toy. They've got it in FB somewhere. They got some dude, even if they're not dating anybody, don't have a boyfriend, there's some go-to guy they go to and they fuck the shit out of him. Okay? Then you have, of course, people who are dating, have boyfriends or girlfriends. They're fucking. Then you have people who are newlyweds. They're fucking because it's still in the NRE, temporary honeymoon phase of the marriage. When monogamy does work that short period of time, they're fucking each other. Then you have long-term married people. They're all cheating. They're all cheating. The guy's got someone he's fucking on the side. Okay? Again, long-term monogamy doesn't work. But my point is, they're all fucking. They're all fucking. Whereas if you talk to people who are like 23, 25, 31, are they all fucking? No. Some of them are. Some of them are a lot. A lot of them aren't. And I know a hell of a lot of people in my personal life and in my work life too, who are, between the age of 18 and 33, men and women both. It is normal for women in their 20s to just go like 1 or 2 years without fucking anybody. Now, in my day, back in my day, when I was in Gen X, when Gen X were in their 20s, that would be really weird. What? You haven't sex in a year? With Gen Z and a lot of millennials, it's like almost normal. Whose fault is that? Is that baby boomers' fault that you're not fucking? Or is that your mom and dad's fault? Is that Donald Trump's fault? Is that Joe Biden's fault? Whose fault is this? It's yours. No one said you can't have sex. No one said you shouldn't have sex. Whose fault? Whose fault is this? And I say this as a guy who didn't lose his virginity until I was like 21 or 22. No, 22 or 23. So I don't remember. It was a long time ago. So I lost my virginity late. But you know what? I got around to it and then I started fucking. And it was nonstop since then. Like nonstop. You know my thing, right? So I made it work. But I was an anomaly. So even guys like me in Gen X were fucking. And I've written articles in my blogs and I've written about my books when you go long periods without having sex when you're a man, how detrimental that is psychologically and physiologically. Doctors will talk about all the negative things you'll have if you never have sex. And no, jerking off to porn doesn't count. Let me say that again. Jerking off to porn doesn't count. I'll address porn in a minute. It's the next problem. Now, one of you is saying you're here, haha, and here we are not fucking. Yeah, well, a lot of you aren't fucking. A lot of you young guys aren't fucking at all. Stupid. You have to have sex. I talked about this, the Unchained Man. I've talked about this in all my material. The two primary foundational baselines for long-term happiness for you as a man are what? Money and sex. If you just blow off sex because it's too much work, or you're doing the red pill bullshit about women are bitches now, or older rich guys are taking all the girls, or the Andrew Tate Chads are taking all the girls, none of which is accurate, by the way. All that is all factually inaccurate. I've demonstrated all this in my other content. Okay, stupid. You want to do that, you'll never be happy, ever. And it's your decision. You're making a decision. If you have had sex anytime in the last 6 months, you have made a decision to not do this. I will say this. I've said this many times. I'll say it again. True statistic from my life. In the past 17 years, since my conversion to Alpha Male 2.0 back in 2007, which was 17 years ago, okay, I have never gone more than 30 days without having sex. And 30 days was only twice, and that was over 15 years ago. I get laid every week with rare exception. Rare exception. Now, you don't have to be as a maniac like me if you don't want to. If you have a lower sex drive, that's fine. But you can't just go 6 months, a year, 2 years without having sex with all these bullshit excuses you young people are making. Excuses my generation never made. I'm not saying my generation is better than yours. I'm not saying my generation is perfect, but I am giving you factual data here. We fucked. Even losers in Gen X fucked. Even losers eventually got around. Even nerds. Watch the movie Revenge of the Nerds, one of the quintessential Gen X movies, early 80s. Go watch that movie. It's one of those movies they'll never make. They can't make anymore because they're not allowed to. One of the great classic comedies of the 80s. And all these nerds fucking. That was not inaccurate. I could do a whole thing about Bush, and anyway, I won't. That movie's great. A little dated. It's dated. It's very 80s, but that's not an inaccurate movie. Nerds got laid eventually. It took them longer back in Gen X times. All right. Now, the next thing I hear about when I say these things is, and I've gotten this comment on my social media many times from you millennials and Gen Zs, is, well, that's easy for you to say because when you were growing up, you didn't have porn and video games. All right, let me educate your dumb ass. Gen X didn't have video games. We invented fucking video games. When I was 10 years old, my arm right here hurt. My arm would ache. You know why my arm would ache? Because I was playing Atari 2600 Space Invaders with my little joystick, and I would grab it really hard, and if stressed, I'd go, ah! And I was shooting aliens. This is back in like 1981. 1982. I spent hours upon hours upon hours upon hours playing Atari games, going to the arcade, playing asteroids. Are you insane? What the fuck are you talking about? When I was in high school in the late 80s, when I was a teenager, I would spend hours upon hours upon hours upon hours playing Ultima games. My favorite back then was Ultima 5. I would play Ultima 5 on my Commodore 64 in like 1987. So you move that little tiny pixelated horse thingy across the little horrible graphics, and it would go doot, 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 and it would sit there, and it would load off the floppy drive because we didn't have hard drives back then. So the horse would stop and freeze. The game would freeze, and you hear the hard drive go. No, the hard drive, the floppy drive, the 5 1/4 inch floppy go, zzz, 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 and then he would start walking again, doot, 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 walking through the forest, going to the mountains, doot, 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 and then it would stop, and then the floppy go, zzz, 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 hours upon hours. I was immersed in those games. I loved video games. I was playing video games before the vast majority of you listening to the sound of my voice were born. We had video games. And I would argue, in many respects, the video games were better than the video games today in 2024. As you gamer guys know, games have gotten a lot worse over the past 10 years. I think video games peaked out around 2012, somewhere in there. Those were awesome. Today, they suck balls. And don't give me Baldur's Gate 3. There's exceptions to every rule. The exception proves the rule. So, video games. Yes, we had video games that we had addictive, immersive video games all throughout the 80s, starting in, the Atari 2600 was invented in 79, I think. 79 or 80? Yeah. If you were poor, you had an Atari. If you had a little more money, you had a Commodore. If you were rich, you had like an IBM PC. That's how it was in the 80s. Or a Macintosh at home. That's if you were really rich. You had a fucking Mac in your house. We didn't have any money back then. We had a little more money when my dad got older. Anyway, so you have that. We didn't have porn. Are you insane? Are you insane? 70s was when the porn industry like began. Was the 70s? And that was actually before my time. I was, Gen X kid of the 80s. We had porn. We had something called VCRs and videotapes. And if you were in the 80s, if you're my age, you know this. And if you are young, maybe you saw this in a movie or something, you would go down to the video store to rent videotapes, to rent movies. And in the back of every video store, there was the porn room. And you would go back there. Now, if you were like, a teenager, you were scared to go back there, but they allowed teenagers back there in most cases because these were just, rando dudes running these little shops. You go back in the porn room, a little curtain, you open the curtain, you go in this little like alcove, and it's just wall to wall to ceiling of porn. And you're like, hell yeah, I'll take that one. I'll take that one. I'll take that one. You walk through a big pile of videotapes. You take them home. You jerk. Okay. You choke the chicken. You strangle the cyclops for about 2 or 3 days. And you go back and return them and you get more porn. And of course, when you're in high school, what you would do is you would copy, your friend would like dupe the tapes. And so we did this in high school in the late 80s. Your friend would like, have a big jacket and you'd meet in the back of chemistry class. You're like, all right, man. And he'd open up his jacket, pull out a videotape, like a black one, unlabeled. He goes, okay, this is Robo Babe. And this one is, Debbie Does Dallas or Debbie Does Dishes or whatever the fuck that was. The first porn I ever watched was like 1980. I don't remember. I was in high school. So probably 86, somewhere in there. And it was called Robo Babe. It was terrible. 80s porn, by the way, is pretty bad. The girls were hot, but it just wasn't. Porn, I've talked about this. Porn peaked in the 90s. But that's my point. The 90s. Yes, we had porn. We also, not to mention the fact that, Playboy and Penthouse, back then guys would jerk off to that. Now, it wasn't good as porn, I agree, but we had porn. Now, did we have phones in the 80s? You press a button and get porn whenever you want? No, it took a little effort to get the porn. But to say we didn't have porn in the 80s, Gen X didn't have porn, we didn't have video games, I see this over and over on the internet. What in the fuck are you talking about? You're a moron if that's what you're thinking. If that's what you wanted to type, and if you just, some of you are watching this on YouTube in the replay, you just type that comment, now you're going back to delete the comment. No, I'm sorry, there are no excuses about this. So, someone's saying, no one says you didn't have porn, fake argument. I have seen that comment at least 4 times on my content, my blogs and my YouTube channel, especially my blogs, from millennials in particular. Yes, I have. You don't say that, but that doesn't mean everyone in your generation isn't saying that. People say this on the internet. Go Google it. There are millennials and Gen Z who have said to me, and they've said they're people in my generation and baby boomers, who I'm not a baby boomer. Well, you guys didn't have porn and addicted video games. We didn't have them. You didn't have that stuff, and you were little. Yes, we fucking did. Oh my God. All right. Let's see here. Now, let me give you the good news. In The Unchained Man, I have an entire chapter called The Golden Lining. And that is where I talk about the advantages of being born today. You have something called the internet. Do you understand what a godsend that is to people in my generation who grew up without an internet and without personal computers? So if you're Gen X or older or an old Gen X, you were raised in an era not just with no internet, but no computers. Computers didn't come on until like the mid 80s. People in their homes didn't have computers in 1976, in 1981. We didn't have those. That's why Atari was such a huge revolution. You had kind of a computer. It wasn't really a computer. It was a piece of shit, but it was fun video games though. Do you understand? I've mentioned this. I've talked about this before. My grandfather in the 1950s or 40s, I think late 40s, early 50s, when he came home from World War II, my grandfather was a World War II generation. He started an insurance company. And it boggles my imagination, the time and effort and risk and money he had to put in to start his own little business. Could he go on Upwork and hire people? No. If he wanted to hire someone, he had to literally interview people and hire a full-time employee, full-time, with payroll and get him a desk and an office and all that shit. When he wanted to send communications to people, could he send an email to someone? Could he text someone? No. Could he send an email to someone? No. Could he send a fax to someone? No. No, he could call them. If he needed to send a document, how would he send a document? Could he fax a doc? No. Could he FedEx a document? Could he FedEx a document so he'd get there next day? No. They didn't have FedEx back then. He had to fucking type it on a typewriter, not a computer, a typewriter. I had to do typewriters when I was a kid. I had a typewriter in my room because I'm a little nerd. I was typing Dungeons and Dragons stuff because I'm a nerd. He had to type it on a goddamn typewriter. Okay, every time I make a mistake, he had to get that white out shit and put the thing. I was, God damn it, he would hit the thing and make the correction. And, okay. Took fucking forever. Pull the piece of paper out and mail it. He had to wait a week to mail it and a week to get a response. If he was mailing something to the East Coast, he was in Alaska, by the way. But let's say it wasn't Alaska. Let's say it was in Los Angeles. Mail something to New York. Took a week. Could he have a face-to-face meeting with somebody? No, he had to get on a plane. That was expensive back then. Do you have any of these challenges today at all? Starting your own business? No. In the 90-day business builder, for example, we have people making money with it, thousands of dollars within a few weeks. Now, that's not typical. Usually it takes a little longer, but that's my point. Do you think in the 80s, think about this. When I was a kid in the 80s, getting involved in business and stuff like that, when I was in high school, you think you just start a business just out of your ass, out of your house, and start making thousands of dollars within a few months or a few weeks in the 80s? No. Unless you had a rich daddy. And I went to a Catholic school when I was younger, and I knew some kids who had rich dads. Okay, my parents had no money. They could afford to put two of us in a private Catholic school, and that's when private Catholic schools were cheap. So I knew and I went to high school with some kids who had really rich parents. I was from a town called West Lynn. My parents moved there in the 70s when it was no big deal, and it became kind of a wealthier neighborhood in certain parts of it. So I went to West Lynn High School around Portland, Oregon in the 80s, and there were kids who had like rich parents, and these kids would get a brand new car. The parents would buy them a brand new car. The kid would crash the car, total the car because they're teenagers, and their parents say, "Oh, that's okay. I'll just buy a new car." I'm like, "What the fuck?" I had to buy my own car. So, so you see my point? You have massive advantages over the baby boomers, over Gen X that we would fantasize about. The internet is a fantasy dream come true for entrepreneurs like me. That's why when the internet came online in the late 90s, people like me got really excited. We're like, finally, we could start a business on the computer without making phone calls or traveling or hiring anybody and make money on the computer. I was blown away the first time I sold an ebook online. The very first ebook I ever sold, this is before Black Dragon. It was called The Six-Figure Computer Consultant. I sold it for like $49 because I was a six-figure computer consultant back then when I was in my 20s. Because unlike Gen Z and Millennial, I got off my ass and got to work and start a business. And it took many years to get to that point, but I got there. And it was $49, and I was blown away. I'm like, I didn't have to go work for a client. I didn't have to do any, I didn't have to get published by a publisher on the New York Times. I just typed a thing in Word, made it into a PDF, threw it up on a website, set up a little payment thing. I think I did PayPal back then. I got money just from writing blogs. Oh my God. Now, this wasn't until like 2009, but this is the era in which you now live. Well, Caleb, it's not as easy anymore to be. Certain things aren't as easy as anymore. Certain things are easier. How many of you have made a lot of money in Bitcoin? How hard did you have to work for that? You Bitcoin guys. I'm in Dubai. A lot of Bitcoin nerds here. How much did you have to work? How hard did you have to work to buy some Bitcoin and wait and make $1 bazillion, which I've done 3 times now. You had advantages that we didn't have. It's not even close. Now, next thing. Alpha Male 2.0 income minimum is $85,000 a year US. That means you're making $7,000 a month after before taxes, but after expenses, okay? I've said this many times and I'll say it again. Alpha Male 2.0, both the financial aspect and the woman aspect, is achievable by anyone, any normal guy. I am not Andrew Tate. I am not Grant Cardone. I am not one of these guys that says you have to make 10 million a year and have six-pack abs and drive a Lamborghini or you're a loser. Now, if you want those things, go do those things. That's awesome. Respect if you actually go after that stuff. That's great. I'm in that zone in terms of my thought process, but I don't teach this. I only teach things that any man can do, including a young man who's under the age of 35. So let me be very specific about Alpha Male 2.0 baseline parameters. Number one, and there's one and two, but they're both equally important. Money and sex. Money. Your own location independent business that you own that generates $85,000 a year US in profit before taxes. That's it. Did I say you have to make $500,000 a year? No. Did I say you have to make seven-figure income? No. Now, I have opinions about people should make that money, but that's Caleb's opinion. That's not Alpha Male 2.0. I have opinions that differ slightly from the baselines, but I don't teach my opinions. I teach reality. $85,000 a year, because we know from happiness studies that'll make you the most happy. If you want to make more than $85,000, please do. A lot of you do. Good for you. A lot of you don't yet. Get to work. Is that achievable? Yes. Do you have to be a super genius to make $85,000 a year, especially with inflation rates the way they are now? No. Do you need to be some big badass Andrew Tate Alpha Male 1.0 to make $85,000 a year? No. Do you need to be a workaholic like Caleb to make $85,000 a year? No. Do you need to have a genius level IQ like Elon Musk to make $85,000 a year? No. No. Do you have to work 60, 70, 80 hours a week to make 85? No, no, no. You can do this on 15 hours a week just to get started. It's not that tough. Now, I understand if you make $2,000 a month and you've done that for 15 years because you're a lazy fuck, and I say $7,000 a month, you go, oh my God, that's so much. I understand there's an emotional gap there. I'm not talking about emotions. I'm talking about what is logistically possible. If you get to work and follow the Alpha 2.0 business models here in an Unchained CEO, you can get to $85,000 a year, no huge problem, and do that in many cases within 12 months, 24 months, 36 months, 4 to 5 years on the outside if you're a total idiot and you're really lazy. I guess if you're really lazy, you won't make anything. Okay? Not hard. You don't need to have any employees. You just use your laptop in most cases. You can do an offline Alpha 2.0 business too. That's a little more complex. So I usually don't talk about that, but you can. I had one for years before the pandemic. Now, let's flip to girl stuff. What do I teach over there? What is Alpha Male 2.0 baseline minimum for girls? Do I teach you have to bang Instagram supermodels? No. If you want to, please do. I do. But I've been at this for 17 years. You can't compare me to a beginner. Okay? But is that what I teach? You need to bang Instagram supermodels? No. You have to bang 19-year-olds? No. I don't teach this. What do I teach as the baseline minimum? Now, I do have courses, mini courses, and techniques on how to do all those things. Dating younger women, and I can teach all that stuff. But what's the baseline minimum we're talking about here? The baseline minimum for Alpha Male 2.0. Is it to marry 5 different women like Andrew Tate? No. Is it to date, have 7, 8 women, 12 women on rotation like I did back in 2009? No. Is it to be a pickup artist and bang, 1,000 women like John Anthony lifestyle? No. 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 What's the Alpha Male 2.0 minimum to make you happy? Here it is. 2 women, not 14, not 12, 2 women who are at least cute to you. Not supermodels, not 10s, at least cute. That means a 7 to you. Even a 6.5 would probably be okay. 2 girls, or at least a 6.5 to you. That's it. Do you have to be Hugh Jackman or Brad Pitt to hook up with 2 girls who are at least cute? No. Do you need a 6-pack abs? Do you need 6-pack abs to hook up with 2 girls on rotation who are at least cute to you of any age? No. Do you have to drive a Lamborghini to hook up with 2 girls who are at least cute? No. This is very doable by any man listening to the sound of my voice. Well, what if I'm a midget and I'm 4'11"? The exception proves the rule. The odd exceptions are always odd exceptions. We're talking about human beings. Don't give me the exceptions bullshit. Any man, listen to the sound of my voice, can do these 2 things. So The challenge with internet culture right now is that you have these two extremes. You have the angry incels, losers who never make any money, never get laid. And then you have the hustle culture guys who are kind of in my zone, who are like, you got to make millions of dollars and you got to work 80 hours a week and have a morning routine that's 3 hours long. Okay. The problem is you think those are your only two options. No, they're not. That's societal programming. I teach a midway point between those two things that'll make you long-term happy. If you make $85,000 a year, which is an achievable goal in your own business, so now you're location dependent, you can move anywhere you want, travel anywhere you want, and you've got two FBs who are at least cute to you, or one MLTR and one FB, which is actually easier if you're a beginner, because guys catch feelings. Imagine how happy you'd be. And it's doable by any man, listen to the sound of my voice, within 2 to 3 years of some work. I went from a divorced, 10 years out of practice, overweight, balding, big gap in my tooth, dressed like a dork, beta male dad, to a guru level dating coach within about I want to say 2.5, really within 2 years. Within 2 years, starting from below zero to one of the higher end guys in the pickup artist community way back in 2009. 2 years, that's it. It didn't take me 14 years. It was 2 years, but it was like 2 years of hell. I got laid in those 2 years. There were some problems. There was some work involved, but it wasn't a nightmare. It's fine. I also talked about in the 90s, when I was in my 20s, I started my business and I was making a six-figure income. Now, I don't teach six-figure income. Okay, 85,000 is not six figures. But I made a six-figure income in $99 within 3.5 years of starting from zero of my first business, my first full-time business. 3.5 years. Didn't take me 25 years of grinding. It's not that hard. And again, we have people in the Business Builder program who do thousands of dollars within a few months, sometimes in a few weeks. Usually it's a few months. So I don't want you to think that, oh my God, it'll be all this work to have my own business. No. I realize there's a lot of, hustle culture bullshit on Instagram, and a lot of the hustle culture stuff I agree with, but that's my personality. That's not Alpha Male 2.0. There's levels of Alpha Male 2.0. We're talking about the baselines here. So if you are under the age of 35 and you feel overwhelmed about, oh my God, I don't want to spend, 40 hours a week swiping on Tinder and trying to bang chicks and working on this business. And it doesn't take that much work, especially if you focus on one at a time, and it doesn't take that long. So one of the challenges with millennials and Gen Z is they have a vast overestimation of how much time and or effort it will take. They think it's going to be this monstrous task, and it's not. Yes, it takes work. Of course it takes work. Of course. Especially if you've never had a business in your life and you've never made more than $2,000 a month in your life. Yes. Most of that will be mental. Yes. Takes some work. But as I talked about way back at the beginning, you have two choices. You can sit there and blame the world, hold out your hand, say, where's my free cash? This isn't fair. Or you can get to work for a little while. That's it. I'm doing on time. Did I go long? I went a little long. What else do I want to say about that before you get to your questions? I'm forgetting something I didn't put in my notes. If I didn't cover something you thought I was going to cover, ask me in the Q&A. I'll hit your questions now, and maybe it'll come to me. There was one more point about this for you young guys. The only point I'll add, this is the point, is that, and I'll get to your questions right now. As I keep saying over at Unchained CEO, I say it here at Alpha Male 2.0, you don't have time to fuck around anymore. You guys in Canada who have at least a little money, you know what just happened with the capital gains over there, right? You don't have time to fuck around. In the 80s, 70s, 60s, 50s, even in the early 90s, you could fuck around with your life and you'd probably be okay because you were living in an era of, Western growth and economic prosperity and, things that you don't have anymore because you guys have been voting for the lesser of two evils for 35 years straight. Now you're fucked. And so you're going to get more and more fucked the more time goes on. Every year, the entire world, Every year, the entire Western world is going to get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And it's going to be so bad. You think it's bad now, you have no idea what's coming. It's going to be so bad in a few years. You don't have time. So use the carrot and the stick. By the way, this is what I do when I set goals for myself. When I try to motivate myself, is I go for the carrot and the stick. I go for the goals that I want, the happiness that I want, the things that I want to accomplish, my mission, my goals, my vision, my long-term objectives that really turn me on and get me very excited. And then I also look at the horrible things that are coming or will happen to me if I don't get these things. I have my own set of, negatives that I go after, but that's one of them. I'm living in a collapsing world just like you are. The difference is I'm taking action on this stuff. And I'm a little further down the road. That's true too. Someday you young guys are going to wake up, you're going to blink, and you're going to be my age. You're going to be 52. And if you don't take action on this stuff now, you think it's miserable. You think it sucks to be like 27 and not getting laid and not having any money when you're 27. Imagine being 57 and not having any money and not getting laid. Think about that for a minute, because I know men in this category. I know old beta males who because long-term monogamy doesn't work, their wives divorce them, and they're divorced at like age 57. They never recover. I was able to recover from my divorce because I was only 35. I was young when I got divorced. So when you get divorced and you're 27, it's bad, but you can recover. When you get divorced and you've been married for 20 years, you've been in a monogamous beta for 20, 25 years, a lot of these guys, when they're 55, 60, 65, they never recover. And I have friends. I have work friends, guys I'm really close to, guys I really like. They've never recovered. They got divorced when they were like 57, and now it's 10 years. They still are fucked. They're depressed. They don't know what to do. My dad found that out when he was in his 70s, and my parents got divorced when they're in the 70s. My dad's never recovered. He will never recover. So you think it sucks now? You want to see suck? Don't do anything I'm saying. Sit on your ass. Keep smoking weed and jerking off the porn and watching Netflix and playing video games and bitching about internet content and voting for Donald Trump and not making any difference in your life. And wait till you're in your 50s with no fucking money and you're not getting laid. Whoa. Okay. With that happy note, I'll answer your questions here. I'm going to scroll to the top here. Hang on. Oh my God, look at the questions. My goodness. Hang on. I'll hang on for as long as I can. Caleb, you're a fucking baller. A lot of us young guys love to listen to you. You and RSD, Jeffrey are timeless. Excited for this one. Cool. Okay. Where is your questions? Which period of your life was the best? 20s, 30s, 40s, and why? My 40s was a paradise by far. And my 50s have been pretty good. My 50s have been, I'm only 2 years in my 50s. My 50s have been very transitional, a lot of transitions, and why and what should we expect life to get better as we get older? So if you take action on Alpha Male 2.0 and establish this, 40s is prime time for a man. Because when you're in your 40s, you've got maturity, you have money, you've got options, but you're not super old yet. It's the pinnacle of, not physically, in terms of SMV in your life, 40s is prime time. When you're an alpha male 2.0, when you're a miserable beta male in your 40s, you're a miserable beta male in his 40s. So get your ass to work. 40s was a paradise. Oh my God. And that's saying a lot, because my 20s were really good. I had great 20s, very exciting 20s. Half my 30s sucked and half my 30s was okay. It was pretty good because I was monogamous. So 40s was great. I've said my goal is to make my 50s better than my 40s, which is going to be really hard because my 40s was so good. In terms of SMV, Rolo said mid-30s is supposed to be the best years for a man. Do you agree? No, 40s. I agree that late 30s is where men's physical appearance peaks. I think men are physically the most attractive at age 37-ish. 30s, no. 30s, you're still a kid. That Rolo was right about 20, 30 years ago. Men in their 30s, 20, 30 years ago was probably high SMV. Yes. Most guys in their 30s today are millennials who don't have any money. No. 40s if you don't get, now, 40s, there's some ifs with your 40s. 40s if you don't get fat, and you keep your testosterone up. And your alpha 2.0, 40s. I set up my SMMA today. You already said that, I think. And today I made my first cold calls, 24 calls, and 1 meeting booked. Any advice? You need to write down whenever they object or they say no, write down why and constantly improve your sales script. By the time we're in charge, the US should be a thing of the past. Good point. That's a good point. By the time millennials, Gen Z at least, are in charge, there will be no United States. Well, let's do some math here. Millennials are in their early 20s now, 30s, 40s, 50s. So 30 years. Yeah, you're probably right. In 30 years, the United States will not exist as we exist now. That's probably true. Yeah. My business helps healthcare imaging facilities under 50 employees recruit imaging techs who do MRI, CT, ultrasound. Will AI take over recruiting or imaging tech jobs in the next 10 years? Recruiting, I don't think so. Imaging tech jobs, maybe. That's hard to say. Once AI makes it so the only things that don't matter are your own. Oh, you're talking about what I said on Monday. Yeah. Once AI makes it so only the things you don't own, you own matter and your skills don't matter, will owning a small business still be viable, or will big AI companies, the government own it, run everything? No, it depends on the business. If the business is one that if it's an AI-based business, yes. If it's a business that is replaced by AI, no. So it depends on the business. I'm really into, and I'm expanding into personal services. So 9-Day Business Builder, how does that differentiate from a lot of services? It's real humans talking to you. That's what people have a hunger for in this world of AI and tech and social media and living in your house. And they need human-to-human contact. So I'm leaning into that direction for my companies, human to human. And so that will be the last thing that will be replaced by AI, human to human stuff. Now, you could argue that AI will replace that too. They will eventually. It'll replace everything. I started a business that is unfortunately not location dependent, which makes 6 figures in the US. It has 30 years and is not too regulated. It has 30 years, I understand. You started 30 years ago. It won't make money elsewhere. What would you recommend? If you sit down, I'm sure you can analyze how you can location independentize that business. If you're not sure how to do that, hire me or Billy for one-on-one coaching. We can show you how to do that because we do that with a lot of companies. There are aspects you can location independentize from that business. Or you open a new business that teaches people in your industry how to make more money or do what you did successfully. And you service people who are now your competitors. And that's location dependent business. I mean, here is my example. I was a location dependent on-site IT networking consultant. I switched that to training networking consultants and helping them build their companies. So I've trained other consultants. Worked out well for me. How much later will the AI revolution take place in Paraguay than America? It'll be much, I don't know the exact number of years, but it'll be much later because Paraguay is not to the level of America. Would selling to people in lower class places work longer than selling to Western nations? Yes. Although that's a very tricky business model, but the answer is yes. If monogamy is not natural, why do marriage counselors recommend therapy for people who cheat? Can therapy make a person monogamous? No. If therapy made a person monogamous, the divorce rate would be 7 or 8% instead of 76%, because lots of married couples go to therapy and it doesn't work. If monogamy is not natural, why do marriage counselors recommend therapy for people who cheat? Because monogamy is pro-societal programming. Society wants you to be monogamous, whether or not it works. Just like society wants you to go to college. That doesn't work anymore. Society wants you to do a lot of things that don't work. It's called societal programming. In your updated book, you kept saying leftism, socialism is rising and only brought up corporatism one time. Did you change your mind on corporatism being the future of the US and now it will be socialism? No. I'm talking about the whole planet Earth. You're talking about America. America and Japan are corporatist. The entire rest of the earth is some version of socialism. Marriage counselors, psychologists, etc., say cheating is a mental illness. I know. Some do, not all do. And those who don't cheat are normal. That's correct. That's this false societal programming. Do you think these people say that because they know monogamy is not natural? I can't read minds. I don't know. There are some deluded people who think monogamy is natural. Yes. There are also some people who are marriage counselors. And so, in order to make money, they have to say that monogamy is natural. How would you be a monogamous marriage counselor if you said, hey, it's fine if your husband fucks other women? They're motivated. Okay, you guys are talking to each other. It's great. Okay. Still looking for questions. Hang on. The 45, are you a woman, Angelica? The 45-year-old I dated had more of a sex drive than 38-year-old I'm with now. Right. Gen X, baby. If you're a woman and you want to get pounded by your man, hook up with a Gen X guy. By the way, I hook up with a lot of younger women. The ones who hook up with other men or have hooked up with other men say something similar. The young guys they hook up with, it's very hit or miss as to how often they want to have sex. And they're like, my God, you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Now, testosterone's a big part of that. Young people today have very low testosterone compared to young people a long time ago. My testosterone is that of an 18-year-old athlete. So, but even before I went on TRT, I was a high sex drive guy. That didn't make me have high sex drive. It just bolstered it and maintained it, I guess. Let's see. Still looking for questions here. You guys are having lots of good conversations in the chat here. Does hookers count? You got to read The Unchained Man. I address that directly. Paying for sex only counts if you have the two criteria met. The two criteria are you've had sex with lots and lots of attractive women already, and you know you could get laid with someone who's attractive without paying for it. Okay, number one. Number two, you make plenty of money because hookers cost money. If you have both those two categories, then you can use hookers. I don't like hookers, or you can use sugar daddy game. I'll say if you don't have both those requirements, no, they do not count. Because read my Unchained Man book. If 100% of the sex you're getting is from hookers you're paying, you're going to murder your self-esteem. Your self-esteem is probably already murdered. And I've seen guys, beta males in their 20s, early 30s, never recover from that. They immediately not immediately. As soon as they start having sex, it's with hookers. They lose their virginity to a hooker. They keep having sex with hookers, not sugar babies, because sugar babies are very picky about who they fuck. Hookers have to fuck you. It's their job, or else they get fired. They don't have a choice. Talked about this in detail. And they get used to having sex with hookers, and then they want to go date a normal girl. They don't know how. How do I fuck a girl without paying her? It's bad. Ugh. Still looking for questions here. You guys are really talking to each other in this thing. I'm trying to find questions. A lot of conservative millennials born in the 90s and Zoomer conservative millennials. Yeah, there are some of them. Yeah. A lot of conservative millennials born in the 90s and Zoomers say that sex should be after marriage or after you find a high value woman that is worth dating. Yes. So as I talk about again in The Unchained Man, you have this weird dynamic, and it's not just with conservatives, young people. It's with left-wing women too, left-wing young girls. Sex is bad. This whole new thing now that sex is suddenly bad again. For a while, sex was good. First, sex was bad in the 50s. That's bad. You had to be married, right? 60s, it was bad. Then you had the sexual revolution of the 1960s. You had second wave feminism in the 70s. Suddenly, sex was great. In the 70s, all the boomers were fucking each other, having all these parties with all their hairy chests and banging the shit out of each other. In the 80s, my generation was fucking each other. 90s, people were fucking, all these women getting pregnant out of wedlock and shit. 2000s started dropping down. And then by the 2010s, yeah, all of a sudden sex was bad again. And that's why you people aren't fucking. And it's not just conservatives. It's left-wing millennials and left-wing Gen. There are a lot of left-wing Gen Z girls who are not having sex, and they don't want to because it's not appropriate. It's a waste of time. It's disrespectful. It's the same shit that fucking, puritanical evangelical Christians said in the 50s. It's strange how the modern day left has become the puritanical right, and the right just lost their fucking mind. It's great. Western collapse. Are OLTRs, MLTRs allowed to have X's as FBs? MLTRs, yes. OLTR, that's a discussion you have with her. Why video games today? Why video games in today sucks? Is it because lack of story and gameplay content? That plus a strong left-wing bent in the video game industry. Left-wing wokeism has infected, let's go through the list, movies, TV shows, comic books, video games. The only thing that hasn't completely destroyed yet are novels. You can still read good literature. Novels are still kind of good, but they'll get them eventually too. The more nuanced argument is that young people have access to it on their phone at any time. Right, but that's not a very good argument. That nuanced argument sucks. We had access to video games anytime. We had computers in our bedrooms. I had a Commodore 64 in my bedroom. I could access it anytime. Porn, I had a VCR and a little TV in my bedroom. I could jerk off the porn whenever the fuck I wanted in the 80s. So that's a dumb argument. I'm surprised they didn't bring up smartphones and social media. Male sexless rates went up after iPhone was released in 2008. Now that's a valid argument. Social media is something that we didn't have. Yes. Yes. So that is a valid argument. Social media. We didn't have social media. That's true. We had the phone. And, if you were lucky as a teenager, you get your own phone line in your room. Usually, like teenage girls would get that in the 80s. You're right. Social media has fucked this up. I have said many times, I give this a lot of thought and analysis. Social media is a net negative for the Western civilization. I think it's a net positive for countries outside the West. I think it's helped countries outside the West rise faster, but it's been a net negative for the West, especially the United States. Yeah, that's true. Correct. What's the problem with red pill? Most red pill content is based on evolutionary science and statistics. How is red pill wrong then? Go watch my video on this channel, why the red pill is wrong. Just Google red pill. There's 2 videos. I explain why. It's not all wrong. The summary is they focus on the diagnosis instead of the solution. But watch those 2 videos. Do you find it necessary to change bed sheets between FBs and MLTRs? When you have them on rotation, it's super annoying. No, I don't do that. If it's annoying, don't do it. I don't do that. Now, here's the other thing. Don't fuck in your bed. Fucking in your bed is the most boring place to fuck a woman. Fuck on the floor. Get some blankets. As long as you have good carpet, okay? But you can get those padding things. Fuck on the floor. More friction down there. Fuck in the kitchen. Fuck on the stairs. Fuck on your couch. Very little fucking do I do in my bed. But if you do it on your bed, don't do it on the sheets. Do it on top of your bed. Get a towel. I've done this many times. Get a really thick towel, put it on top of your bed. Fuck on your bed. No, I don't change my sheets. But I don't fuck in my sheets. I mean, do I? Other than my wife. I mean, Pink Firefly, obviously, we fuck on the sheets. But my other women, rarely do I fuck in the sheets. I feel like we were born at the perfect time to be alpha male 2.0. That is correct. I have a whole video called Our Time Is Now. Yes. Yes. Non-monogamy is now accepted, grudgingly, but it is accepted. When I started in Alpha Male 2.0 back in 2000 publicly, in my life 2007, publicly in 2009, I've said this many times. When I said to people on forums and blogs and shit like that back in 2009, long-term monogamy doesn't work. You should fuck wherever you want. She should be able to. Guys lost their minds. That's bullshit. That's not. Pickup artists got mad at me. Pickup artists. Monogamy works great as long as you find the right girl. Oh, do they say that now? Nope. Crypto is a fantasy dream come true for guys like me who hate working to make money. Great. My net worth is past $300, $300,000. Thanks to crypto, I'm not even 30 yet. Good for you. Excellent. Good. I bought some crypto in 2017 with my student loans. Oh my God. It's worth over $350,000. Okay, good. 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 Now, there you go. We didn't have fucking crypto in the 80s Are you kidding me? We would have killed for something like crypto in the 80s. We would have murdered. Are you insane? Do you see how easy? Yeah, man. God damn. Bitcoin is a goddamn dream come true. You're right. And you have access to it. But I don't have any Bitcoin. Then get your ass to work, start your location independent business, and drop it into Bitcoin. Let's see here. I invested in TSLA a while back, and that helped. That helped about 250K. Backed the you could not. I don't understand your text. Your thing. Sorry. Bought Bitcoin and Ethereum years ago. Okay. Elon said Tesla will eventually enable Dogecoin payments for Tesla cars. Yeah, great. Let's see here. What's the problem with John Anthony lifestyle? Are you the same guy who says, what's the problem with everything? Why don't you stop asking what's the problem with everything? I didn't say there's a problem with him. What's your opinion on his lifestyle and the stuff he teaches men? I don't really pay a lot of attention to him. I don't know. I've just said what I've said before. He doesn't look very happy to me. Doesn't look like a happy guy. So whatever he's doing is not making him happy. I teach happiness. It depends a lot on the U.S. Federal Reserve. I think this entire year will end positively. I'm a total idiot in the crypto space. I just learned from people smarter than me. Is 170 cm height too average? There's no such thing as too average. What is 170 cm in feet? Do that conversion. I'll answer that question. I still haven't memorized that. What am I? 180? So I think it's fine. I think you're fine. Yeah. For the minimum number of girls for Alpha 2.0, isn't 2 girls a bit too lenient? Not for a beginner. Once a girl leaves, you're back to 1. The standard long-term minimum for the true blue Alpha Male 2.0 is 3. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the minimum baseline. If you have 2 women, you're an Alpha Male 2.0. That's you. Is that you an optimal Alpha Male 2.0? No, you're not. But you are. I'm talking about the minimum baseline for a beginner. 2. I got to be nice to beginners. If I say 3, 4, 5 women, guys start tuning up. There's no way I could do that. Get to 2 and you'll realize adding a third one's easy. It's easy. Once you have 2. And getting 2 is not that hard. My opinion is that guys should just focus on money. Money and sex, both. If you're making a lot of money and never getting laid, you won't be happy. When you just focus on one area, you can really excel at it. One area at a time is okay. That's fine. Once you have 1 million, you can bang 19-year-olds with ease. Yes, you have to pay for it. No, you don't wait 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 years until you have $1 million to get laid. Incorrect. Get a infrequent FB or 2 on the side and then make your money. Okay, you guys talk about crypto. I wish I was taking action, man. It's crazy that I'm living with my folks in my latter half of 30s. You're the exact picture perfect example of what I'm talking about. And that's your fault. That's 100% on you. We just didn't see that in the 80s and 90s. Guys in their 30s live with a mommy and dad. It was very weird. We only saw that, you know what? I'll be honest with you. In the 80s and 90s, back in May, we only saw that with Asian guys. Asian guys would live at home with their mom and dad in their 30s until they got married. Nor everyone else. 18, 19, 20, 21, you got the fuck out of there. I moved out of my parents' house when I was 18. 18. Now, I did move back for like 3 months when I was 20 to save up for a down payment for a house, to save on rent. I did do that. So, but I left at 18. I was back for 3 months and I was gone. We never went back. I think that's what I did, something like that. But I was out at 18. Was it hard living? And I didn't have any roommates in the middle of recession in the early 90s. No roommates, paid for my own bills at age 18, 19, 20. Was it hard? Yes. I talked about how I couldn't pay my electric bill. And yes, but I made it work and I was free. Didn't my parents tell me what to do? Anyway, going on. It's crazy. I'm living with my folks in my latter 30s. It's soul crushing, taking action. It's so soul crushing. Taking action is an effort. Dad tells you what to do like a kid and it just kills me. Move the fuck out. A, move the fuck out. B, all you guys live at home. I've told you guys this, you young guys. Here's what you do. Don't spend any time at home. Just use your home to sleep. Wake up, grab your tablet or your laptop, and go to a Starbucks or a library all day. And don't go home until it's time for bed. I'm not kidding. Pack yourself a lunch, pack yourself a dinner, get a little backpack, and get the fuck out of there. Stay the fuck out of your house and build your life and then move out as fast as you can. There's no law saying you have to stay at home unless you're your parents. Ralph, you keep complaining. Stop complaining about your life. That's stupid. Okay. You need to get out of healthcare job in Canada and make an online business. $2K a month in Asia is more freedom than $5K a month in Canada. Dude, $5K a month in Canada. You're poverty in Canada. My God. And just about everywhere in Canada now. It used to just be like, parts of Toronto and Vancouver, BC. Now it's everywhere in Canada. Get the fuck out of Canada. God damn. I just had a one-on-one coaching session with a guy in Canada. He's leaving. Good for him. Hey, Caleb, how often do you contact your FBs outside the country? Outside what country? I have FBs all over the world. Depends. My special FBs I contact semi-regularly when I don't see them. How bad is it going to be in 2 years? No one knows the answer to that question. The only thing we know for sure is much worse than now. Taxes, civil unrest, anger, inflation, all these things are going to get worse. AI, people losing their jobs, unemployment. This is all going to get worse and worse. How worse? We don't know. I don't know a crystal ball. No idea. I just know it's going to be worse. So what the fuck are you doing? I remember you said don't invest in countries with an angry neighbor, right? Not invest. I didn't say that. You don't use them as a living flag. I would put a mountain. You could invest in those countries if you're careful. Adjacent enemy rule means you don't live full time in a country that is adjacent to an enemy. Correct. I didn't say invest. I said live. But you said multiple times that you will invest in Ukraine after the war. Can you explain? Yes, because I didn't say invest. I said live. And the Ukraine thing is not going to be a long-term thing. When the war is over, I'm going to Ukraine. I'm going to buy everything I can buy. Man, if I can buy apartments, buy businesses, I'm going to buy as much as I can buy. If I can buy bonds, stocks, I am going to buy everything I see. And I'm going to keep it for 2 or 3 years when it recovers. And I'm going to sell it all and make $1 gazillion and throw a party. I'm not going to invest in Ukraine the rest of my life. By the way, that's something some of you should be doing with Venezuela right now. If I lived on that side of the planet, I'd be doing that with Venezuela. I'm starting to hear that Venezuela is starting to clean up now. Finally. Dude, if you live anywhere in the South America region and you've got some money, you got some assets, be careful, be smart, do your research, go to Venezuela and start buying. Maybe now, maybe in 6 months, but I would at least start checking it out now. I'm tempted to go now and I'm in Paraguay. I'm already going to go to Uruguay, so I don't want to fill up my schedule. Why you said going to college doesn't work anymore? Because it doesn't. It's just a waste of your time. You don't do installment plans for 9-day business builder for Australians, don't you? Yes, we do, but it's only 3 months. Have you been on a date? Have you been on a date and the bartender starts flirting with the woman you are with? How do you feel about that? That has never happened to me, no. You just laugh. You laugh it off. If it looks like it bothers you, then you lose. You laugh it off. Is he going to fuck her? No, you are, if you play your cards right. Really quick, before I go on your questions. 90-day business builder, 90day.ca. Your deadline to sign up is next Monday. We have brought back the trial period. So you can sign up for the 90-day business builder. You got to go to 90day.ca, sign up. You can sign up, pay nothing. We charge your credit card like 60 cents. You're in the program for 2 full weeks. Then you decide if you want to continue or not. If you don't want to continue, you owe us nothing. You're out of the program. If you want to continue, then you pay and you're in. 2-week trial period, 90day.ca. I may never do this trial period again. I didn't want to do it again. I discussed this on Monday. I didn't want to do it again. My team kind of begged me to try it one more time. So we're trying it one more time. So you may never get the opportunity to join 9 Day Business Builder again with a 2-week trial period. You can make payments for the 9 Day Business Builder up to 12 months, depending on what country you live in. It's either 12 months or 3 months. And you will be making money within 90 days. As long as you do what you're told, you'll be making money within 90 days, location dependent, and then well on your way to your 85,000. So you can quit your fucking job, be location dependent. And then if you want, for those who want to make a lot of money, make a lot of money. Like a lot of money. Like a lot of money. I just talked to a guy, let's see. When did I talk to him? Last Tuesday? One of my students, I don't like that term, but one of my students, been following my content for a few years. He has, what did he tell me? $1.6 million in Bitcoin. And he didn't buy it a long time ago. He bought it. He bought that. Started a business, Alpha 2.0 business, put it all into Bitcoin. He owns some Ethereum and some Dogecoin and some other stuff too. And he's 39. Works. Is sex bad with young American women? No, because so many are fat. Don't fuck the fat ones. What about paying for sex to lose your virginity if you're a virgin? I've discussed this. That's okay to get over that hump, but you only do it 2 or 3 times, and then you never do it again until you're rich. So you lose your virginity, get over that mental hump, so your dick works and your dick understands how to behave around a woman. 1, 2, 3 times, and then stop, and then go date normal girls. Yes, that's okay. Thoughts on Matt Cross, the 33 Secrets? I have no idea what that is. I asked because, this is a different person. I asked because since reading your Alpha Male book in 2014, I've wanted to be mentored a lot, or at least work in one of your programs. Go for it. Question: between women and money, I'm a late 30s guy going through a divorce. Hey, I was there. I was a mid-30s guy going through my divorce. I was there. I really want to start my own location-dependent business, but unsure if I should create an LLC now or wait till the divorce is finalized. Don't do that until the divorce is finalized, because she may, if you're in the United States or Canada, she'll own that. She'll own or have rights to 50% of that because of communal property laws. So no, don't start any LLCs until you're legally divorced, stamped, filed, done. Then go ahead and do it. You can still start your own business, start your own checking account, and just run it out of your checking account as a DBA or just out of the checking account. That's fine. You don't need an LLC to start a business. So don't do that yet. Good question. When you are with a Latina, do they say que rico during sex? No. Sometimes they say papi. What's really funny is when they say si. That's funny. That makes me laugh. I've never had 10K straight up to bulk buy your 10K. The 90-day business builder is not 10K. It's nowhere near 10K. It's about half that, less than half that. So no, not 10K. I've already passed the discovery phase, so maybe start now and keep it under wraps. Oh, I already answered your question. Michael Sartain called out John Anthony Lifestyle to pick a fight. I don't follow internet drama. I'm a grown man. I don't care about these things. Then John Anthony and Lifestyle accepted, and Michael Sartain backed down. Is Michael Sartain a beta pussy? No, but you're being that by giving a shit about internet drama. Thoughts on cohabitation with a long-term relationship at 25 years old? Excuse me, 25. Hang on, I need my water. Hang on a second. 1 minute. My voice is giving out. And then I got to go in a few minutes. I'm fasting, so I'm drinking my salt water. It's great. You know what's really cool? This is the 3rd week in a row I have not eaten anything for three days in a row. Now it's getting easier. This is the 3rd day I've not had any food. It's the evening, and it's not that bad. It was torture last week. The week before was torture. I did it. It was torture. This isn't too bad. My body's adjusting or something. I'm getting excited. All right, hang on. Where's my mouse? Okay. Thoughts on cohabitation with a long-term relationship at 25 years old? You are not allowed to have a girlfriend until you're 30. So no girlfriends until you're 30. You are throwing your life away by cohabitating with a girlfriend at age 25. You need to move out. Okay. Be nice about it, but move out and open up the relationship so you can have sex with other women and do that immediately. And if you don't do that, you have one-itis or you're a pussy. Thoughts on Andrew Tate and Jesse Lee Peterson saying that there needs to be more white babies. I've addressed this many times. And that is white men's fault as they are being replaced by immigrants and not having white babies. Well, it is white men's fault. This is all white men's fault. So let me cover that first. The right-wing narrative is white Western men built this wonderful civilization and it was perfect. And then one day, an alien spaceship from the planet Woman landed and all these women came in. And then another spaceship from this planet called Mexico and all these Mexicans landed and all these Muslims landed and fucked everything up. That's not what happened. What happened is white Western men turned into pussies and gave up their authority and gave up their freedom and converted to socialism and welfare statism. And they turned into a bunch of babies and destroyed their own society. Vis-a-vis things like socialism and mass immigration and all the things that right-wingers talk about. So yes, this is all white men's fault. Correct. Also, white people in the Western world, as I've said many times, has spent the last 35 years voting for the lesser of two evils, saying, every presidential election, and they'll say it again this year, every presidential election say, okay, you're right, libertarians are right, okay, third party, you're right, but not this time. This time, we've got to vote for this guy because if we don't vote for this guy, then this horrible person will get into office. We can't have that. So we got to vote for this horrible person so this other horrible person is getting in office. And you've been doing that consistently for 35 years. When you do that, you destroy your own currency, you destroy your cost of living, you raise your taxes, inflation, and you destroy your economies. So now it's too expensive to have kids. The reason white people are having kids is it costs, one of the many reasons, is it costs too much fucking money to raise children. In the 1970s, I've said this many times, my dad was a low-income worker working for the state of Oregon. He was making something like $22,000 a year, whatever. He had 5 kids and was able to support 5 kids and a stay-at-home wife on that income. So when it was cheap, men had babies. Now you made it expensive. Now they don't. Then you also have the left-wing stuff and women hating sex and men turning into incels and testosterone. That's another factor. But that's why. Now, Andrew Tate and Jesse Lee Peterson are concerned about society. I am not. Society can go fuck itself. Society did this to itself. I don't care about society. I care about you. I care about you. I don't care about society. Society can go fuck itself. Society doesn't go fuck about you. Society has fucked you. This whole thing about you millennials and Gen Z, you got fucked. Why do you care if white people are reproducing? Who cares? That's white people's problem. Let them dick with it. I don't care about white people. I don't give a fuck about Americans or white people. I don't care because I'm outcome independent, very unlike both those guys. Jesse, you want to see outcome dependence? Andrew Tate and Jesse Lee Peterson. Holy shit. Talk about outcome dependence. My God. Plus, Jesse Lee Peterson is gay. Is he out making a bunch of babies? He should be one to talk. All right. Can you believe the girls who are 18 were born in 2006? No, I can't. I was just thinking about this. Whenever old people have birthdays, we think about this stuff. So my birthday last Saturday, I was thinking about this. When I was in 7th grade, so we're talking about what, 1984, 1985. I went to a private Catholic school. And so a private Catholic school, you don't have buses because it's a private school. So you have carpool. So the moms would pick up all the kids in their neighborhood and drive to school. And every week that moms would take turns driving the kids around. So one mom had a baby, like a 1-year-old. Her name was Corey. And I would sit next to the baby and I would play with the baby all the way to school, the whole way, 25 minutes there. And I like babies. I think babies are cute. I like holding babies and playing babies. And so we would play baby games like peekaboo and she'd go, ee! And I would play with her all the way to school, right? For like a year. Okay. Her name was Corey. Today, that baby is a 40-year-old mom with like wrinkles on her face. It's weird. God, that's weird. That's so weird. You know, babies that I held when I remember in senior in high school holding a baby, like 1 or 2 babies. Senior in high school, so that was 1990. Those babies are now women or men in their 30s. They're 30s. Those babies. And I have memories of when I was in high school that feel like just a few months ago. That was 35 years ago. So like I'm saying, man, aging happens very quickly. You know, you're 27, 25, 35. You're thinking, oh, I won't be 60 for a long time. Bullshit. You will blink and be 60. Be like, what the fuck happened? It's weird. Yep. And every birthday, like me, I'm like, God damn, really? I'll give you something else. I remember 2 or 3 years ago on my personal Facebook, 3-4 years ago, I don't remember, a few years ago, but shortly, within the last few years, the first 18-year-old I ever had sex with, way back in 2009-ish, turned 30. She's like, I just turned 30. I'm dirty 30. I'm like, she was 18. Wow, weird. I haven't seen her in ages because she lives in a different distant city. But so yeah, you got all kinds of weird thoughts about aging. Yeah. Question for dating. Do you believe positive traits nullify negative traits? For example, someone who is short but good looking like Tom Cruise. I don't think I've heard you talk about this before. It doesn't nullify. You have to overcome it. Yeah, I have talked about this. I talked about this by books, how the short guys who make it work have really strong, larger than life alpha male 1.0 personalities. Joe Pesci, Danny DeVito, Al Pacino, these short little guys, but they have these huge, confident personalities, and they compensate the fact they're short. Yes, you can. Sure. You know, Tom Cruise is not super short, is he? I don't know how tall. Yeah, I guess he is shorter than average. He's pretty short. If we have a little money, would you say we should prioritize starting a business and put the woman on hold, or still try to have both? One problem being I don't have my own place right now. One at a time. But you don't wait 10 years before you address women. Yes, you could address your business stuff now. Yes. Have you been contacted by the elites like Andrew Tate has? What? Have you been contacted by the elites like Andrew Tate had, as you have an audience? They want to control people with an audience. In terms of my YouTube audience, you can see how many followers I have. I'm a pygmy on YouTube. I'm a little ant on YouTube, which is the way I like it. I said this many times. I don't want any more than 40,000 YouTube subscribers. 40,000, I can make all the money I want. I don't even need 40,000, but I don't need more than 40. I don't want to be famous. I don't want to have a big footprint. I'm the opposite of Andrew Tate. I don't want people to know who I am. I don't want to be famous. I've said this 10,000 times. I want to hit my I want to be as least famous as I can to hit my income objectives. And that's it. I don't like it when people come up and recognize me. I'm flattered. It's nice, but that's not something I need in my life. I don't need people worshiping me like Andrew Tate does. I don't want it. I want to be left alone. Andrew Tate said that the population will reduce to 2 billion people. No, he's wrong. And AI and the elites are planning to do this. This is scary. Thoughts? Why do you automatically assume everything Andrew Tate is accurate? Why are you scared about something some random alpha male 1.0 on YouTube says? No, he is incorrect. Are there some elites that would like a smaller population? Yes. The world's not going to go to 2 billion. With anti-aging, it's going to actually help that. Plus, if you look at the population charts, the population of the earth is going to start to decline until the 2060s. This is a nuclear war or something. 2060s. So the rate of growth is decreasing. Yes. But there's still growth worldwide. Not the United States. The United States is dying. Worldwide population is going to keep growing to the 2060s. Then it's going to start to taper off a little. But by then it'll be like 11 billion people, probably more because people will be living a lot longer. Yeah. Do you recommend a black leather sofa for women? No, I don't recommend any. That's up to you. Do you let women know explicitly that you're non-monogamous from the get-go? Yes. Similar to being upfront and straightforward. Yes, I do. Correct. Where should I stash park half my savings, $50,000 USD, so the U.S. government never touch it? Thanks, Caleb. There's a lot of options. Precious metals or crypto is the easiest one. And don't break the law. One of the best live streams, Caleb. Oh, thank you. Andrew Tate has gone full Rouge 2.0, as I've said many times, yes. I started calling dudes gay for having sex for pleasure and not to pop out babies. Yeah, Andrew Tate, I've said this many times, is following the Rouge playbook, exactly what Rouge is doing. Exactly. Rouge found God and got super religious. Andrew Tate. Rouge started backpedaling, saying, I never said that. I didn't mean that. That was satire. I was just kidding. Andrew Tate did that. That's why I kind of lost respect for Andrew Tate last year in that BBC interview where he spent 45 minutes saying, I never said that. Yes, you did, Andrew. I heard you say it 26 times on 26 podcasts. I never said that. Well, I didn't mean that. I was just kidding. Not good. So, yeah, I have no problem with Andrew Tate. He's just following the same path a lot of other guys have followed before him, just at a much larger scale. When I look back at how I still haven't left for good or why I've come back just exhausted. Okay, Ralph, stop being a pussy and complaining. Stop having a pity party. Get off your ass and make changes. Thoughts on the cryptocurrency XRP? It's pretty good. Ripple's pretty good. Do you believe it will be a stable coin and a worldwide transformation systems for big banks? Possibly. Possibly. It could just be, Tether or USD coin instead of XRP, but it could be, could be, sure. Link to 90-day Business Builder, please. 90day.ca. Should I put a banner real quick? Let's do that really fast. I can't. 90day.ca for the 90-day Business Builder. 90day, 90day.ca. That's it. Easy to remember, easy to type. I got that specifically. I lost track. Shit. Okay. We're going a little long here. I'm going to go in a few minutes. How easy the economy was in past makes it easier for past generations when the internet does for us today, don't you think? I don't understand. I'm going to read that question again. How easy the economy was in past makes it easier for past generations when the internet does for us today, don't you? I don't understand your question. Oh shit, you do have a 90-day Business Builder installment plans for Aussies. Anyone in the world can do an installment plan for up to 3 months. If you want more than 3 months, that's only for certain countries. Just sign up to a coaching $12,000 course a month ago. Maybe I should cancel that. You do whatever you want. The idea that immigrants are so bad is crazy when they work harder than Gen Z. The worst people are the American kids brainwashed universities. Well, I've said this before. I've used this example. I have spoken with, and this isn't anything recent, this has been a while. I've spoken with standard business owners, like guys who live in the Midwest or whatever, and they have like landscaping companies. This is another thing that right-wingers don't understand about, and hardcore Trump supporters who hate Mexicans and want to build the wall and kick all the illegals out. I have my own opinions about that. If you were libertarian, it wouldn't matter. But anyway, the problem is you'll have these guys, these business owners, and here's what they'll tell you. They'll say, look, I have a landscaping company, okay, where people are working out in the sun in the yard for 12 hours a day, 10 hours a day, 8 hours a day, right? My only two options to hire employees to do that kind of work are Mexicans or white teenagers. That's it. I don't have any other options. No one else will sign up for that kind of work. They won't. We've tried. They won't do it. So my only choice are Mexicans, legal or illegal, or white teenagers, so I can stay in business and pay my bills and take care of my family. Those are the only two choices I have. Now, if I hire white teenagers when it's 100 degrees outside, 1/3 of my workforce suddenly calls in sick and we're fucked. Whereas if I hire Mexicans, they are fucking there. 6:30 a.m., ready to work. They work all day and they don't complain and they show up 100%. So guess who I need to hire? Mexicans. Caleb, in previous videos, you said that society is not becoming conservative, correct? But now you're saying that things similar to what conservatives in the 1950s believed, such as labeling sex as a bad thing. In that one respect, they're taking on that one aspect of conservatism. These are not conservatives. These are hardcore, left-wing, woke socialists who also don't like sex. The productive class in America have been Out reproduced by the non-productive class for decades now. It was only a matter of time until that caught up with us. Yes. Correct. The elites want lots of immigrants because it's the only way they can increase populations. European, Canadian, American elites want mass immigration, mass migration, because white people don't have enough babies, because they made it too expensive to have babies, and they're too left-wing to have babies. So the only way to improve their economies and raise their GDPs is by importing mass third worlders. Yes. Yes. And by the way, who's been behind that? Republicans. Republicans. You guys are going to vote for Trump. Okay. What did the Republicans in the House just do? You Americans who are going to vote for Trump in November, what did the Republicans in the House just do? $100 billion to Ukraine and Israel. That's money you could have kept in your pocket, pay your bills and build your future, but it's going to Israel and it's going to Ukraine. Republicans. The Republican Party has stated their primary objective is to help Ukraine. Republicans. That's who you're going to vote for. Trump's a Republican. I don't know if you knew that. Get the fuck out of the United States. Caleb answering questions from Zoomers when you already know what he's going to say. Video game recommendation for you if you decide to game again, Cyberpunk 2027. That's very low on my list. I already have a whole list in my head of the games I'm going to start playing when I go back to video games. Number one top list is I'm going to finish Pillars of Eternity 2. I'm going to finish that fucking game. God damn it. I'm so angry. I didn't finish that game. Then I'm going to replay Alien Isolation. Play that again a few times. Then I'm going to do Baldur's Gate 3. Then I'm going to replay Civilization 5. One of my best games of all time. Then I will look at other games. Is Cyberpunk good now? Didn't they have all kinds of bugs and shit? So that's like, number 10 on the list. Thoughts on Richard Hart's Hex and Pulse Chain? Hex. Hex was supposed to go crazy like 2 years ago and it didn't go anywhere. Didn't Hex fail? Do you think it will be easy to get white Western women to move to better foreign countries to start families? No. Women don't like leaving the country. You should see the nightmare I did to move my wife. No, it's hard. No, white Western women don't like. Men are cool. Women, there's a percentage of white Western women, the more masculine, REI camper type girls, those outdoorsy girls, they will, but other women no. They just get scared. What's your opinion on using 0% intro APR cards to buy crypto during a bear market? I think that's very risky. I would never do such a thing. What do you look so young? I have plenty of anti-aging videos here at the YouTube channel. There's anti-aging articles I have, and I talk about my books. I do a lot of different things. By the way, this is with me with no Botox. I've had no Botox in you got to get Botox every 3 months. It's been like almost a year. When did I get Botox last? 8, 9, 10 months ago? So this is me with no Botox. Yeah, pretty good. What's going on with the SMIC? SMIC was canceled over a year ago. I was being offered membership from 2022 to last year, but it's gone now. I don't understand your question. There's no SMIC. There's the SMIC Vault, which is a package. It's not a membership program, but that's not available either. Do you see a B2C personal budgeting training service to be too risky due to fiduciary laws of the U.S., not investment advice? No, that's okay, but you have to be very, very narrowly niched. That's not niched at all. You'd be very, very narrowly niched. Are we in World War III already? My daughter just asked me that. No, we're not in World War III. There will be no World War III. What's your predictions on World War III? There will be no World War III. Go to my blog, calebjones.com. Search for World War III. I have a whole article about how there will not be a World War III. The elites would lose too much money. The elites don't want a world war. They want lots of little wars. Those are great for the elites. The elites love those. They get more power. They get people supporting them. They make billions of dollars. They love lots of little wars. They love those. They do not want a world war. No. Time my question to the Alpha 2.0 podcast is that I'll use my money to fuck bitches. Okay. Does having some extra fat hide wrinkles? Not really. Not your face. No, I don't think so. Now, I have seen Jim Carrey as a celebrity example of this. I have seen really skinny guys prematurely get a lot of wrinkles. So I think if you're super duper skinny, you tend to look older. That's true. But I don't think being fat or chubby helps with wrinkles. No. Religious and conservatives have their reasons to hate sex. They're all false reasons. I know. Why are left wings and these modern women are against sex? Because they think it's disrespectful to their bodies and it's submissive to men. If I make an Instagram for dating, how many pics of me should I use? Lots of pics, but they better all be good. I'm asking you, since you say dating apps, you should use 3. Having only 3 pics on Instagram would be weird. Correct. A lot more than 3. You should have 2 or 3 pages of them. Chinese and Russians are bribing corrupt Republicans. It seems also in Europe. Partially, but no, Republicans believe in this shit. Republicans are for big government and globalism. Some of you are still stuck on this 20-year, 30-year outdated belief that Republicans are for America first and want small government. They don't. Republicans are corporatists, which means big, giant government. Have heard of Become Human? Great interactive movie like game about AI, integrated society. Never heard of it. No. So artificial intelligence is going to take all the jobs? Eventually, yes. Not all of them. The vast majority. Yes. Eventually. That'll be a long time, but eventually, yes. Do you like Assassin's Creed? Not really. Never got into that. The elites have stocks. What do they want to do with that? That's not real power. What? I don't understand the question. I mean, inner sanctum. That's SMIC is inner sanctum. Is there any kind of subscription-based community where your fans congregate, talk business? No, I don't do any more subscription-based stuff anymore. There's plenty of, we have the alpha. If you look at the description of any YouTube video I've done, there's links to an Alpha Male 2.0 Telegram group, Alpha Male 2.0 Discord. We have all, there's an Alpha Male 2.0 Facebook group with like 20,000 people. We have those. They're not paid. They're free. So not curated. You can join those. I don't do memberships anymore. I wasn't making enough money. All right. Last question. I got to go. I was recommended to watch your video on STDs by Lucario. Great video. Good. Lucario's the shit. He's awesome. I should have him on here. Good guy. Okay. I'm going to let you guys go. You have 1 week to sign up for the Business Builder if you want to make money within 90 days in your own location-dependent business so you can quit your horrible 9-to-5 job. 90day.ca. The deadline is, I believe, Monday because the curriculum begins next Saturday. You have to sign up before the curriculum begins. You can make payments if you want. You can also join a free 2-week trial period. 2 weeks, free. You can leave anytime up to 2 weeks. It's fine. This may be the last time I'm offering this. 90day.ca. Schedule your phone call. Get that done. And I will see you guys very shortly. Have fun.